All right, and I think we are live here this week on the Rantin Review live streaming podcast. So we're gonna get started today. We got a lot to talk about in our weekly discussion about what's going on in the world of entertainment and wrestling and YouTube and gaming and movies, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Again, if you guys are new to the channel, I appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell, and all that good stuff. But we're going to look at it right now. We're going to start off with the Royal Rumble from last night, which was, I got to say this, WWE is so, they've reached this point where they're kind of surreal. It's a surreal experience to watch their show. There's so much visual stuff going on that it's such an impressive I mean, even look at this picture here on, or should I say this way, this picture here from the Rumble the other night. I mean, it's something to check out. It's something to see. It's a very I don't want to say well, I did say visual noise, but it's a beautiful thing to look at. Just the colors and the lights and everything else is pretty cool. But the big news, of course, from the Rumble last night is Jey Uso. Jey Uso, who I don't think anybody had them on had him on their bingo card, but people were hoping. But Jey Uso did win the Royal Rumble last night, ousting John Cena. I thought they were going to go with Cena because Cena's making this whole thing about, he's trying to get to the main event. You could have seen a match with him and Cody being an interesting main event, since Cena is Cena and Cody is like the new Cena, which is kind of weird. But what's up, Alejandro? Good to see you again. But yeah, there's the scene. There's the scene right there from last night. John Cena getting outsmarted and pushed out of the ring. He got in the ring a little bit mad, but then shook the hand. The winners, the graphics department. Yeah, this is. See, here's another thing. The graphics last night. So for the first time, for those of you who didn't watch the Rumble, they had this thing at the bottom of the screen where it was like a sports thing where they updated, who had been eliminated, how many people were in, what entrant they were on. That was such a great addition. It's something that's such a no-brainer. It's something that I have thought about for a long time and said wrestling companies should start using that. It was another innovation that a certain other wrestling company I thought should have used, and once again, unfortunately missed out on the opportunity because now it is definitely a WWE thing. So Nia Jax was interesting last night. There were so many moments in the because that's what WWE is. There's so many moments in the Rumble. Naomi and Jordan Grace reuniting the TNA regulars. It's so funny to hear TNA mentioned in a favorable light on a WWE TV show. Of course, Jordan Grace is now in WWE. She's not a forbidden door, a whatever the WWE called it. She's not a outsider coming in. She's now part of the WWE locker room, which we all kind of expected when we saw her last year. This is an interesting thing on the graphics department. This year, the graphics department was put to work in much more substantive fashion. At the bottom of the screen, a display showed the number of people who've entered, the number eliminated, and other details. Entrances were granted full status and even a little flag for country of origin. Eliminations were spelled out at the bottom of the screen in real time. It felt as if WWE had finally added the sports aspect of sports entertainment. Somebody else should have done that a long time ago beforehand, but they didn't, which had been missing in the decades since the term was coined. Yeah, it's actually sports entertainment goes back to skiing of all places. I think it was skiing. Vince adopted it from a different industry, which said sports entertainment. Losers, the women's division. I don't know if I agree with that. Well, I guess because of Charlotte winning and the internet leaking it out. Of course, Michael Cole and WWE still on this thing about, the internet was wrong. They said that, I think who they say quit? Somebody had quit. Oh, I think it was Alexa Bliss who came back. Oh, the internet was wrong because they treat the internet like it's like some foreign alien thing it's really us. It's their ardent fans. And I'm going to talk about that with something else that happened on the Rumble last night in a little bit more depth. But it was cool to see a lot of people coming back. Charlotte coming back. Jordan Grace coming back, Alexa Bliss coming back. Kevin Owens had a great match. There was some blood in his match for Cody Rhodes, which was a really good ladder match for the WWE Universal whatever undisputed blah 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 championship. Cody losing it a little bit. That might be the story going forward. That Cody is going to do that heel turn. That's why I think John Cena. Well, John Cena could still go. Cena could go and become the face in that match. There's still elimination chamber for Cena. DIY and also Motor City Machine Guns, maybe tag teams in general. Yeah, WWE's tag division is its weakest division right now. It's not clicking. I would agree with that. And the biggest winner was Jey Uso, according, again, this is to Wrestling Inc. Jey Uso, man, I was surprised by this because he lost that Saturday night's main event match to Gunther, which was a world title match just the other week. For him to win the Rumble, is he going to challenge Gunther again, or is he going to challenge Cody? We're going to have to find out. Again, another reason to tune in to watch the show. So they're doing a really good job. Here's something that was Solo Sikoa. Yeah, Solo not looking good. It is Jacob Fatu, who was the big man. They are teasing this thing with Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu. This is the second time I've seen them tease it. They teased it in the Rumble, and people are going crazy about it. And just the way they filmed it with, Breaker like hulking up behind Fatu, and then Fatu turning around, and the two of them, and they never really came to blows. They are saving that one, man. That is some really brilliant work that they're doing with Fatu and Braun Breaker. Breaker looked amazing, and we got to talk about the best spot of the night in the Rumble, which was hilarious. But we're going to check that out in a second. Let's go and see the chat. You guys are piling in here. Cool guy Jay said, call him Unk. Yeah, left my ass off. Scotty Boy said, what's up? I heard about the results of the Rumble. WWE fans are mad. Whoa, expound upon that. Why are WWE fans mad? I try to read X, Twitter, social media about once a week, usually within 5 minutes. I have my Twitter feed up because I'm going to look at it later on. But I usually just get irritated and turn it off. All right, let's see. I'm surprised how mad people are about it since Jay is over and Charlotte is Charlotte. Well, I can understand why people would be upset about the Charlotte thing. That would make sense. Alejandro Cruz says, Jacob Fatu is a beast. How he did not get signed early in his career is crazy. He's going to be generational Unaga. He's going to be bigger than Unaga. Jacob Fatu is because of his arrest record. And Vince from the old days. So there you go. Definitely should build Jacob as a future champion. Umaga. Craig S. says, hey, Rantin, good to see you doing a live stream. I've been a little bit lapsed with wrestling YouTube channels over the last couple of months. So am I. I have loads to catch up on with your channel. Yeah, there's a lot to catch up on. I don't post as much as I used to, but yeah, it's been fun. There was tons. I will say that was a very fun Rumble. And again, WWE is I mean, just again, look at this image. It's just they've reached a certain point where all the crap that was annoying about them 5 years ago, it's just been around long enough for it to now us just to kind of like I guess we got beaten down just to accept it that this is what WWE is. It's this giant, huge, bloated thing that is just a surreal moment. The most surreal thing about the men's Rumble is when you got Punk and Roman and Seth and who else was in there, and Cena, and all of those, like seeing them come out one after the other. There was a moment where there wasn't any action in the match. It was like 4 minutes where it was just them sucking their own about how big they were and having these big stars in the middle of the ring. But the one cool thing about it though that Triple H has done is if you look at this Rumble, there are so many interconnected stories. Because Seth has a problem with Roman, but Seth also has a problem with Punk. Punk has the secret that we still don't know about with Paul Heyman, that Heyman owes him a favor. So that's lingering between Punk and Roman, who have a rivalry going back before Punk came into WWE, when Punk was in AEW, and they had the whole needle mover argument thing going on. Drew McIntyre's got a problem with everybody. So does Kevin Owens. Cody's losing his mind. Jey Uso is the guy that everybody's now in love with. Maybe not. Gunther is a great world champion, so they've done a very good job of weaving all of these things together. I have to give them credit for that. That's why they are smack dab in the middle historically speaking, as I've mentioned on this channel before, hot periods in wrestling, no matter what the promotion was, usually last around 6 years. We're about 3 years into it, so they are right in the middle of the latest hot streak, the latest boom period, the latest era, this new era in WWE, and they're going to ride it out. And it's been interesting for what they do. It's been very, very interesting. And Penta was in there. Penta and starting out with Rey Mysterio, that was pretty cool. Some old Lucha Underground vibes out of that. So many. Vakir showed up in the Rumble. She's now on the main roster. So many things, so many moving parts going on with the Rumble last night. So I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. And the Owens match with Cody, I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was. It was actually pretty damn good. But I do agree with this. Charlotte coming back, her taking 9 years to get to the ring and winning the Rumble. That got leaked late last week. Everybody kind of leaked out that she was going to win the Rumble. So pretty good stuff. I got to say, it was pretty good. Back to the chat here. Let's see. Alejandro said, stare down with Roman and Fatu. That was pretty good too. Ghost Lawyer says, honestly, I'm shocked that Jay won, so am I. Also, Punk, Reigns, Rollins, triple threat in something. Could be. I don't know. Punk, you would think would be the main event for a title. But if they're not giving him his main event this year, would that be the main event? I thought that was kind of the point. They're going to delay it another year. Punk is old. He doesn't have too many years for them to keep delaying it. So we'll see. But the aftermath of the three of them with Rollins and that nasty looking double stomp he did on Roman's head and then stomped him on it. So Roman's definitely going to be going after Seth at this point in time. And Seth and Punk's rivalry just continues. So it's a crazy schmage there with all of them. And we still have the mystery about what is Heyman's favor that he owes CM Punk. Again, great stuff here by WWE as far as the booking is concerned. Let's see. Johnny Burney says, Jey Uso winning the Rumble is like the Commanders going to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Give them credit for the in-ring storytelling. Yeah, well, yeah, somewhat the in-ring story. It's more of the outside of the ring stuff, in my opinion. There's not a lot of... And notice everything I'm talking about, it's not about how great any match... Outside of Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, it's not like, oh, these were great wrestling matches. It's just a bunch of drama. This is the as I've coined this era in WWE. It is the melodrama era. They don't really have to do anything. They just show up, stand, stare, pose, all the lights and stuff go out. The crowd really is what's selling it because the crowd is just losing their mind for every little thing that happens on WWE shows nowadays. So that's really what it does it. Again, Johnny's also another person. I'm seeing a lot of people who do not like Gunther's title reign. I don't watch WWE all the time, so I'm not. It might not have hit me the way it's hitting for people who watch it a lot more often than I do. Let's see here. Craig S says it's unfortunate for Penta that he botched a fake. Oh yeah, that's right. So for those of you who didn't see, Penta, were the first 2 minutes of the match, him and Rey Mysterio are going over, and there were a lot of people who were playing with the feet hitting the floor. Penta's feet hit the floor. And the fact they didn't show a replay, yeah, it was kind of sad. His feet did hit the floor, but they pretended that it didn't. It didn't show a replay. So there you go. Johnny Birdie said, keep in mind CM Punk is the mastermind of the Shield. I'm going to leave that alone. Kayfabe, I guess, kind of. I guess you could go with that. I don't really, because they distanced themselves so much from him after he left. I personally remember that's kind of the storyline, but it never really went anywhere. And again, I don't associate him with the Shield as much, but yes, technically kayfabe, he was the mastermind, I guess, behind the Shield. Scotty Boy said, I'm not excited for Gunther versus Jay or Cody versus Jay for WrestleMania. Understandable. I think the thing is that the brainwashed, oh my God, that's the one thing that did drive me crazy at the end when Michael Cole is doing the yeet thing and he's completely off of beat. The whole crowd doing it, and I'm like, yeah, see, this is when they lose me. The kind of brainwashed way in which their whole audience just does what they tell them to do. I just don't like that stuff. I don't like that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's fun, and I'm not going to take away and say it wasn't fun. It is fun, obviously, for people to do it. Um, I'm just old. Anytime and I have a natural contrarian attitude when I see, like, I don't like lemmings. Like, all the lemmings are going off the cliff. I'm like, okay, that's a good reason for me not to go off the cliff just because everybody else is doing it, blindly doing it. Johnny Birdie say, you think we'll see Cena heel turn this year? No, I think it's probably more likely Cody who will do the heel turn. Apparently, McIntyre is upset with his Mania plans as well as Damian Priest. Well, McIntyre re-signed that contract, so he's stuck with it. Mets 21-28, good to see you. So what's the deal with Evil? We will get to that in a second. Johnny Burney said, were they using the Chiefs refs when Penta hit the floor? That's a good one. So that's the Rumble. Now, the one thing I did want to talk about with the Rumble was Joe Hendry. They didn't include this on here that I see, but one of the big things that happened is Joe Hendry. I think it's Joe Hendry. Yeah, Joe Hendry. I don't keep up with it that much. Joe Hendry. Surprise entrant in the Rumble. There's 70,000 people at this show. All of them knew his theme song and who he was. And were singing along to his theme song, which here's the thing with me about that. And we've seen this before. Remember when AJ came in? AJ was also in the Rumble, surprise entrant. When AJ came into the Rumble back in 2016. And every time some of these guys come from outside the company, Jordan Grace was another example last year. All 70, 60, 50, however many thousand people they have at these shows, WWE shows, all of them know who these people are, sing along to their entrance songs. So I'm kind of going, well, then why is it that TNA can't even get a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of this size audience? See, this kind of stuff is why I say a lot of what you hear from a lot of people on social media and YouTube and podcasts about the wrestling industry is kind of crap. This is the casual fan thing is I think so overplayed. There are roughly, let's just take WWE's ratings, probably 3.5 million wrestling fans in North America. If you can draw 70,000 people to the show and 90% of them are singing along to Joe Hendry's goddamn entrance, that means they all know who he is. They all know, they've seen his stuff. But they won't go to the shows and they won't watch the TV shows. And it goes for the rest of wrestling in total. And WWE even makes references to these other places. So they don't, it's not like when Vince was there where they ignore and pretend the rest of the wrestling world doesn't exist. They acknowledge it too. So the wrestling fan base essentially, like I always suspected, and this again is confirmation of it, stabs itself in the foot. Instead of like other industries where, you know, you'll check out another show. It might not be your favorite, but you'll watch it. If you liked somebody else's character, if you think the Young Bucks are great or Kenny Omega's great, yeah, they all know who those guys are, but they refuse to watch it. Because there's this weird front runner, insecure nonsense that's in this community about we can only support number one and we are the number one. And you're not the number one. It has nothing to do with you, except for the fact that you make sure that none of the other companies do anything. We are going to regret this in the future if these other companies, as the IWC wants it to do, go out of business. It's no one else to blame but the wrestling fans. Casual fans do not know who Joe Hendry is. So that, again, that whole myth, for me, once again, has been blown out of the water when something like that happens and you got 70,000 people singing along to a song. Joe Hendry's not been in the WWE main roster. It's not Logan Paul. It's not like he's from a popular, thing that's established. This is a fairly new thing with him. Being this viral sensation on social media, but they all know about it, and but they still won't watch TNA, and they won't go to a TNA show. TNA's not drawing a 20th of this crowd, and that's just telling. It's just very telling. Let's talk about the funniest thing that happened on the show. This is the funniest thing that happened on the show, and I'm gonna show what I can of it and pause of it because this is YouTube, so they like to do this stuff. So this social media influencer, this cat, who I am not young, so I don't follow too much of this, but I Show Speed. They made a big deal about Triple H inviting him to the show. This kid gets out. I thought this was funny. So he's doing all this stuff and he's interacting with the WWE universe and Dominic and, you know, he's doing all this stuff. But what was the funny part about it? Tozawa gets out there. Tozawa is supposed to be an entrant in the Rumble. He's hurt. He's too hurt to go. So Triple H, and this was, I thought this was, see, this started out kind of lame. I was like, oh, this is going to be lame. But Triple H goes over to Speed and it's like, you're in the Rumble. You're in the Rumble. I started dying laughing. I was like, no way they're not going to do this. They actually put him in the Rumble. This kid goes into the Rumble. He gets an elimination. He actually gets an elimination. He's feeling himself. And I got to find a part because I'm going to play. I can play this. Oh, yeah. Otis got, I think it was Otis, I guess. He's doing backflips. He's feeling himself. He's looking all great and everything. Him and Braun Breaker are getting along. Braun Breaker is running the ropes. And then this happens. Breaker just murders him. Can we slow this down? I got to slow this down. Wait, where's the speed? Here's the playback speed. Wait, I gotta slow it down. Is this faster or slower? I can't remember which one it is. Let's see. Oh, it's too fast. All right, slow it down. I want to see this again. This is the funniest thing that happened. This made the show for me. This made the show actually fun. Oh, here we go. Kill. That is stiff as hell. Breaker just murdered this kid. Oh my god, that was the funniest thing that happened on the whole show. That was the funniest thing that happened on the whole show. All right, let's get back to the chat. Really, Cool Guy Jay says WWE really feels like a different universe when you watch it after a long time. It is. The reason is the first time. If you look at the WWF from like 86, 87, and then look at it in 92, 93, 94, looks different. You look at it in 94 and then look at it in 2001, totally different looking show. Then from like, after they won the Monday Night War, from like 2001 up until about 4 years ago, it was basically the same, and that was part of the reason why it was so lame for so long. It was just the same thing over and over and over again for 20 years. They finally have started switching it up, adding some new things, different camera angles, different setups, different. It's different enough now that it feels like it's not the same old anymore. We're finally getting some cool stuff, and Triple H has opened up. You know, like I said last night, Kevin Owens did a blade job, or maybe Hartway. I don't know. I can't remember how he did it, but Kevin Owens was bleeding. They didn't clean it up. Like, they remember when NXT with Samoa Joe, I think he had a match and he got busted open and they stopped the match and put Vaseline and all that stuff. They did that like a couple years ago and people would boo about it. They don't do that anymore. They just let it go because it's wrestling. That's what's supposed to happen. The language has eased up a little bit more. A lot of stuff going on. Oh my God, Kevin Kelly is here. Kevin, that's not. That Royal Rumble was something else. Yeah, Kevin wants to probably get back. I mean, that's probably the only place he can go to right now. That Royal Rumble was something else. I bet Pat Patterson is looking down on Indianapolis, smiling ear from ear. Pat Patterson, man. I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not a fan of this. Too many. Roddy Piper probably isn't a fan of him either. But anyway, yeah, let's go here. Alejandro Cruz says no melanin off B. I believe in Joe Hendry. WWE fans know about social media clips more than the full shows of their program, but they know to an extent. Yes, they do, but it's like. Okay, so like as I like gaming and I like movies, which we'll be talking about later on in the show. If I see a trailer, which I do have the best games coming up for February 2025 on my gaming channel, you can check that video out. But there's like 30 some odd trailers in there. I'll see a trailer of a game that looks cool, and I'm like, I'm gonna go check that out. In wrestling, if these fans see something that looks cool in another promotion, they're not gonna check it out. Out of sheer spite and tribalism. Which I've said this 1,000 times, that keeps the entire industry from growing. And these are not casual fans. These are all wrestling fans. It's just that all the wrestling fans are now just watching WWE for the most part and have kind of abandoned the rest of the wrestling industry again, which we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay for it down the road. When this boom period is over for WWE in a couple years, we are going to feel it. Mark my words. Watch it. I will be done with YouTubing by then, but watch what happens, man. It's going to be, they're asking for it. Anyway. Walls Money says, hi, Rand. Hope you're doing well. I am. Thank you very much. Bree says, apparently 215 million people watched his clip. Yeah, that's true. Foreplay 2004. It helped that the indie crowd actually popped for him. That's true, but there's not 70,000 people in the indie crowd. That's like the majority of that arena were singing along to his song. They all know who he is. They all know where he works. And the same goes with all the rest of these wrestlers. It's a lot of people lying. People know. Every time you see somebody go, who is, like somebody was talking about who's Gabe Kidd, I can guarantee you half of those people probably know who Gabe Kidd is, or at least have heard of him at this point, because he's been making such a stink, but they're not going to watch. They're not going to watch, because that's the way they do it. Brainwash, yeah, that's true. Alejandro says, apparently the internet said AEW is dying. The internet says AEW is dying all the time. They said WWE was dying for 10 years, and look where we are now. So there you go. So there we go. So that's all I'm going to talk about with the Royal Rumble. This is just the funny. This still is just the funny. I want to watch. I want one more time. I want to see it one more time. To hurt. That is freaking fantastic. All right, we're going to check out. I'm going to take a break from wrestling for a second because I have to. I can't. The wrestling industry drives me crazy. Let's check out this. This is apparently, I've heard stuff about this. This is the final trailer for James Gunn Superman. I don't know how I feel about this. I've seen some good stuff and bad stuff about this new Superman movie. James Gunn, I like the Guardians. I saw the first trailer. It was all right. Seems to be a bloated cast. I'm not so sure about it, but let's check out the last trailer to Superman, James Gunn Superman. You guys let me know what you think about it. I'll let you know what I think about it. I haven't seen this yet, so this is a first-time reaction. I'll put my earphones up here so I can listen to it. But let's see. The latest trailer for Superman from James Gunn, the DCEU trying to get its stuff together. Let's see if they can here in this trailer.
A common man walking among us.
Oh, wait. So this is... Oh, that's what's his face from every James Gunn project. And he was in X-Men, right? He played Beast in X-Men, Lex Luthor. He's playing Lex Luthor in this. Oh. Wait, they arrested Superman? How do you arrest Superman? Why even put the cuffs on him? You know he can break him. Unless they're kryptonite, I guess.
Or one who stands above. Who they call Hope.
You're a quite interesting being, but in this world there's...
Is that the Green Lantern? Who is that supposed to be? Yeah, it's a ring. Yeah, that's a lantern. At least a lantern. Boy, this is... I will say this. Some of the costume choices here do not look... I mean, this young lady over here, it's a little much.
Interesting being. But in this world, there are certain rules you have to follow.
We all serve in hard tech.
Okay, these costume choices, I'm not feeling them. I'm going to be honest, I don't feel them. I'm not feeling them.
If you want to be a hero, you have to register.
That's something you have to change. Since we met, I knew you would change things.
This is good casting as Lois Lane. I grew up with the old Superman, so Margot Kidder is always Lois Lane to me. And for the first time, she actually looks like a Lois Lane. No offense to the other ladies who have played her over the last couple of years, but she looks like Lois Lane at least.
No matter how bad things get, no matter where it is.
Superman.
Oh,
You'd be there.
There's only one thing that can eliminate hope. He's here for you.
Oh, I haven't seen. We're gonna have to check this out. I haven't seen the new Squid Games trailer yet. Okay. I don't know. I like James Gunn, but this movie's already feeling like it's too bloated. If you're rebooting the DCEU, this feels like there's too much going on. You got Luther, you got a Lantern, you got a dragon, you got Brainiac, you got all kind. It feels like 2 hours is probably good. We don't need this movie to be 3. If this movie's 3 hours long, I'm like, no, you don't need that. Just give us a good short story. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're just trying to throw everything in it. That was a problem with the DCEU originally. They, instead of building to something, they just threw it all at us at the same time, and it looks like they're doing it again. I'm going to reserve judgment until I see it, but not too wild about that. I'm going to hold this because I have not seen the new Squid Games trailer yet. All right, let's go back to the chat, see what you guys are saying here. 4plays 2004 says, I was responding to I Show Speed. Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. I meant the Indianapolis crowd popping for I Show Speed. Gotcha. Walls T Money says, what would you rate the Royal Rumble out of 10? This year's probably one of the best ones. In fact, I probably will go back and watch it. So if I would go, I want especially the men's Rumble. So I'd probably say it's about 8 out of 10. There were the tag match kind of dragged. And then there's just there are those moments in the WWE show where I am enjoying it, and then they remind me of that it's WWE and it's so overblown. All the commercials, all of the selling you stuff. If they could tamp down on that stuff, I would enjoy it a lot more. But I understand it's also how they make all that money that they make is by constantly bombarding us with advertising, buy. You know, I get it, but it's for me again. I'm so averse to people selling me stuff that it turns me off personally. Craig said, yes, we're gonna have the AEW conversation at some point in time. I might do that next week. I got a lot to say, but this is not the week for it. We'll be here all night. Ron says, Guy Gardner G. Okay. That's the Green Lantern, says Scotty. Ask Scotty Boy. I don't know. I guess it is. He's wearing a ring and shooting out green. I'm guessing that's a lantern. The problem with Superman movies is that Superman is too stoic. Well, it depends on how they portray him. See, over Marvel, Captain America is basically a depowered Superman character-wise. But they made Captain America in the MCU one of the most likable characters in there because they did it the right way. You can do that kind of a Boy Scout character if you can get the crowd to get behind him because he's trying to right a wrong. Superman just coming in and being, I'm a great guy, and there's not a real big wrong that he's got to right. That's why you have to do that character. You have to get the audience to think that there is such a giant wrong in the world that you're showing them. You want the good Boy Scout to come in and fix the crap that's going on. That's how you can do Superman. I don't know if I'm seeing that from this trailer, but you have a good point. Looks all right, nothing special, and too many things. Yeah, it's very true. Johnny Birdie says, Squid Game Season 2 is unnecessary after watching the first episode. Okay, Johnny. Men's Rumble is the best Triple H Rumble. Craig S. says, I don't like that mentality of people who think that if it didn't happen to WWE, then it doesn't count at all. That is their audience. They have cultivated that since the 80s. To the detriment of the entire industry. And again, when WWE gets stale again, and it will, and you have nothing else to do, you have nowhere else to go because we've not supported all the rest of the companies. You haven't watched the shows, and they all went out of business, or they're under WWE's umbrella. I mean, how much longer do we think it is until TNA winds up actually being bought by WWE? Come on. All right, so let's get to something else I wanted to get into over in New Japan. So it's a new month. February 1st happened, and usually every year, January 31st is always the contract thing. Whose contract is up, who's leaving New Japan. This year, surprisingly, it's apparently Evil. So Evil already after Wrestle Kingdom said he was done with New Japan and he wasn't going to be on the shows. Now, I thought originally he was just going to go over to Noah as an exile or something like that. They did this with Suzuki-gun back in the day. But we, again, are in a different... It is not the 2010s anymore. It is the 2020s, and wrestling is completely different now, especially with the business side of things, especially with Japanese wrestlers. This should be concerning for the Japanese, the new United Japanese Front. This should be very concerning for them. This is yet possibly, not confirmed yet, but possibly another big homegrown star, following in the case of Shinsuke, following the case of Okada, that is going to leave. And part of it's probably because, some of them are looking at Naito and Tanahashi and how crippled they are, and like, if I'm going to go there, do I want to stay here and be a crippled old man like Tenzan, like all these old guys, and this is just what I'm going to do and make this money? Or could I go to the States, to AEW or WWE, make, good $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 million, and come back to Japan at any time? But maybe I should go over there and make the money if they want me. So here, this is from somebody I do follow, Peps Wrestling, and Tokyo Sports had the article. The thing about Tokyo Sports article, I do read them a lot, but the English translation isn't good. That's why I'm not showing that to you guys. But here it is. As soon as it was February 1st in Japan, Evil's profile is now gone from the official NJPW website. NJPW contracts run until July 31st, typically. Tokyo Sports mentions that he hasn't attended any contract renewal meetings and hasn't been in touch with the company. A New Japan office member said they are trying to get into contact with him. Very obvious story. Wonder what they plan for him. Now, again, this could go to part of the thing that he may be doing an excursion to one of the other wrestling companies in Japan. That is very possible. However, we have to remember who his partner is. And she is over here in the WWE. So, and if he's not talking to... Now, if this is legitimately him leaving New Japan and going elsewhere, the fact that he's not returning their phone calls probably means he's not going to AEW. Would I be surprised to see Evil in WWE? No, I wouldn't be surprised. And quite honestly, I am so sick of the House of Torture. If Evil's gone and the House of Torture disbands in New Japan, in this occasion, please, I'd be happy. I'm not going to be upset about Evil leaving New Japan, killing the House of Torture, and Evil going over to WWE, whether it's NXT or whatever. NXT, by the way, now there's now an NXT for NXT because they have the Evolve shows now. So WWE has the Evolve show, which is an NXT for NXT, and then NXT is still an NXT for the main roster. I'm telling you guys, you're seeing a monopoly unfold in front of your eyes, and it is what it is. But I gotta stop saying that. But yeah, Evil might be on his way out of New Japan legitimately, or again, this could just be part of some sort of plan. I'm about 50-50 on it. I could see it go either way. What do you guys got going on over here in the chat? Ron says, hopefully House of Torture will be done with. Yeah, we all hope so. Evil was effed over by Gato and Dick Togo by doing the House of Torture stuff. True. Evil might be going to WWE. That's a lot of NXT. There is a lot of NXT. Yeah, I again, remember Evil does have some ties over in WWE. And if he's not calling back New Japan, New Japan works with AEW. So if he was going to AEW, I figured that they would know. And Tokyo Sports, they don't tend to do kayfabe stuff in their news reporting. Like, it's not like over here in the States where, Sportskeeda and all of the dirt sheets and, they will run with work stuff as if it's news. And over in Japan, it's a little bit different. So I'm going to take this, I'm leaning more towards that this is legitimately that he is not talking to New Japan. And that might mean that his contract expired and he's just signing with somebody else. If he's not talking to them, it's probably going to be WWE. But again, we're going to have to wait and see on that one. I've heard Evil isn't with EO80. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You do have a good point there, Cool J. I did hear that he wasn't with EO, but again, that's a rumor. Who knows? He could still be with EO. He might not be. I don't know. Maybe he's following her. Maybe he's stalking her there. I don't know. Let's see. What else we got here? Last thing I want to talk about before we get into some just general questions is over on the gaming side of stuff here. I do check out this guy. this guy is like the Mass Effect person. And for those of you who know my gaming side, Mass Effect is one of my favorite game franchises. It's one of my favorite stories of all time. I love the Mass Effect trilogy. We've been looking forward to the next Mass Effect movie, or the Mass Effect game, call it a movie. BioWare has got some problems right now, and I don't know. And this title here, BioWare finally gave us an update on Mass Effect, but it's not good news. So I'm going to listen to a little bit of this and just see what he's saying. I haven't watched this yet, so let's just see what he's saying here. And if we can pick up on is this really bad news for the future of Mass Effect, which I hope it isn't.
Parrish, Lay, and others. In keeping with our fierce commitment to innovating during the development and delivery of Mass Effect, we have challenged ourselves to think deeply about delivering the best experience to our fans. We are taking this opportunity between full development cycles to reimagine how we work at BioWare. Given this stage of development, we don't require support from the full studio. We have incredible talent here at BioWare, and so we have worked diligently over the past few months to watch many of our colleagues with other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit.
You're fired.
Today's news will see BioWare become a more agile, focused studio.
Agile. Oh no. Well, yeah, that's kind of bad news. So EA has got a lot of problems because they don't know what they're doing. Well, they know what they're doing, but they're doing some really shit. A lot of it's because of Dragon Age the Veilguard, and a lot of reaction to that from people. And my main concern, since I don't play Veilguard and Dragon Age or any of that other stuff, my thing, and the layoffs and everything else, my thing is really, when they announced, I think it was 2 years ago, that they were going to continue the Mass Effect trilogy, the Shepard version of it, after the original trilogy, not that Andromeda bullshit, I was really excited. I was like, oh great, they had a trailer, Liara's picking up the N7 thing, is Shepard coming back? I don't know. Are they going to continue that type of storytelling with... See, he's highlighting Agile for some reason. I work in Agile for software development. Agile is actually a pretty good thing, but who knows? I'm thinking what he's trying to get at, without even having to watch this whole thing, because he's doing a lot of talking, and I see a lot of nerds talking about it. A lot of nerds talking about it. Why is he showing? That's Deus Ex. I don't know. What is that? I don't know. I'm going to have to watch this in full. I'm not going to watch this whole thing right now, but I did want to touch on this because I'm going to be very sad if they wind up canning the Mass Effect sequel trilogy, because Mass Effect is amazing. And I think I've played through the series about 5 times with different characters, female Shep, male Shep, different romances and stuff. I still got ones I haven't done yet. I still haven't seen the entire game. But if it is a case that we get that Mass Effect 5, I guess we technically could call it, gets dropped, the gaming industry is now... It's like every industry has its own little shortcomings of bullshit. And this one right here, especially with EA and what they've been doing with their games, it's not good. It's not good at all. All right, let's do one last little check here in on the chat before we head off today. Let's see. Oh, you guys don't know anything about games. All right, well, never mind it. So we will let's talk about wrestling again. We will I guess we're just gonna check we're gonna check here on what is this? Oh, parody account. I'm so confused. Why would Gunther defeat him clean? And this is a good question. Why would Gunther defeat him clean in a world title match just 7 days ago for Uso to win a Rumble? A lot of people are going to be curious about that. Don't take the road less traveled by. Take the road no one has ever traveled, says Jordan Grace. Okay. Harley Cameron got a bigger pop than 70% of the women in the Royal Rumble. I don't think that's necessarily true. Something went wrong with Drew McIntyre's elimination from the men's Royal Rumble match. When Drew got to the back, he was screaming and cursing that someone had to get their moves in at the expense of a number of stories in the match. He then loudly stormed out of This is the second time for this for Drew. Out of building and was gone well before the match ended. Well, again, he re-signed the contract, so he's stuck there. Drew, I do say though, for AEW fans, if Drew McIntyre leaves WWE in a huff, Drew McIntyre is definitely somebody that AEW could work with to kind of reimagine. They'd have to do a really good storyline to bring him in as a mystery guy and start something up, and then he comes in and he's the guy and he's kind of just this vicious dude taking over. I would say Negan him to steal from The Walking Dead. Make him like the Negan kind of character to come in AEW and just completely shake up the whole main event scene. Like, I'm taking over this whole thing. None of y'all are better than I am. Moxley, Omega, Ospreay, I'm coming after all of you guys, and I got a little army with me. But McIntyre is a guy, he's one of the few guys out there that AEW, if he does leave, and he goes to AEW, it could be not a game changer, but it definitely could be a momentum shift for them. But again, we are way away from that because, like I said, McIntyre signed a new contract, so he's kind of stuck there. But I was surprised by this too because his whole storyline going into the match is that he was going to go up against, he was going to get at all of his enemies. He didn't get at any of them. He had a couple interactions with Punk, Seth, Roman, but he didn't eliminate any of them. And I thought the match was going to kind of go that direction, that Drew was going to eliminate a whole bunch of them, but one of his enemies would get rid of him. Drew, and I understand from a character perspective, it is slightly hurting his character because him never getting one up on any of these guys is starting to make him look kind of, not only a little weak, but kind of stupid. So, I'm sure he's aware of that. So, but I'm interested in who he thought the someone is who had to get his moves in. So that was cool. All right, let's see. Scotty Boy says, BioWare hasn't got a good rep right now, so I'm skeptical. Be a shame if they dropped it. Maybe, yeah, it would be. Cool Guy Jay says, the former heads of the Mass Effect series is making a game called Exodus. Looks like the spiritual successor to Mass Effect. That is true, but there is still more story with the Mass Effect original trilogy, so we'll have to see what goes on with that. Gerald Andrew says, Ninja Gaiden 4 coming out. You playing? Black is already out, right? Black Myth Wukong really tested my gaming skills, and I'm getting too old. It made me realize I'm getting too old probably to play some of these games. That and Mortal Kombat it might be time, but I might try it. I might not do an entire walkthrough of it. Ron says, you think David Finlay is sticking around? If we have, I'm going to watch next weekend. So New Japan's got the New Beginning in Osaka next weekend. So I'm going to be curious to see what Finlay's role is, if there's any, on the Road 2 shows and up to that one. Now, Phantasmo which is coming up, I think it's tonight. Yeah, tonight, Phantasmo and Jeff Cobb are for the TV title, which I'm looking forward to seeing that match because Jeff Cobb is really good at those TV title matches, so I definitely would check that out. But I don't see much big for Finlay on the horizon. I don't know if he would, again, his family's in NXT, so I don't know if he would be going to, I have a hard time seeing him do that. I think Finlay's got another couple years of stuff that he can do in New Japan, and I think he just got to the level where people are accepting, not everybody, but a lot of us are accepting him and the role that they put him into a couple years ago. He's finally filling it out. I think it's a little early and premature for him to leave. I don't think he's got the name yet to command the money that he could command if he stays another year or two and really, especially if him and Gabe have a really good feud, not if that's where they're going over Bullet Club, or they just have a really good feud regardless. I think that is, after that's over with, then I think you could probably entertain thoughts of Finlay probably leaving New Japan, but I think he's got a lot more to give and a lot more to gain from being in New Japan for the next year or two. Let's see. Scotty Boy says the next thing the media will say is Drew is going to go to AEW. Probably already did. Did AEW do the Jericho Cruise again? I don't know. I haven't heard about the Jericho Cruise for a few years. Cool Guy Jay says Drew having a run in AEW would be awesome if they did the booking, if they brought him in right as a game changer, as a guy who was changing the dynamic of everything in the main event roster scene, and AEW, which is kind of one-dimensional now. It's basically some of the main event guys and the Death Riders. The Death Riders, by the way, I had this thought while I was watching New Japan clips over the weekend. I think the Death Riders will work a lot more in New Japan than they do in AEW. If think about it, the Death Riders were in New Japan. That faction actually works in New Japan. I don't know if it works as well in AEW. But if Drew did eventually go, which, stranger things have happened. But if he does eventually go there, yeah. And another thing people have to consider is, again, from last night's Rumble, the WWE main event scene is so huge. There are so many people involved with it. Somebody's going to be like, am I going to... Now, look, I could sit here and make some good money, wrestle in front of these big crowds, but not do much for the next 3 years because, I got to wait for Punk to do his thing. I got to wait for Cody. I got to wait for Roman. I got to wait. If you're like here on that list and you're not Braun Strowman or Jacob Fatu who are on the come up, some of these guys might be, maybe it might be a good idea to shake things up and go somewhere else. And while there's still somewhere else to go, and I can still make some money, somewhere else, while Tony Khan's still paying out them big checks, it might be time to do that while I can still get it. Otherwise you're going to be stuck. Scotty Boy said Ninja Gaiden Black is out. That's what I thought. Let's see. Cougar J. TV title has been my favorite thing in New Japan the past few years. Yeah, TV titles, when they're done correctly, are always great. And Geralt says, if Tony Khan is not the booker, then who would you want to book the show? Myself? No, I'm kidding. No, actually, you know what? Honestly speaking, Danielson will probably be the best person, and I do suspect Danielson's doing some booking for AEW. But I think they need a narrative person. There are two things that, if I have to talk about what AEW needs, or what I would think would improve AEW, they need a new person for the visual look of the show, and they need a new person for more narrative booking. They've got the matchmaking booking part is great, but again, I've said this before, that style of booking worked in the 2010s, but we're not in the 2010s anymore. So you need to, in this current atmosphere right now, for the current era we're in wrestling, there needs to be a little bit more of a long-term narrative, somebody who understands storytelling, the 3-act structure, hero's journey, all that stuff I've mentioned before on the channel. It works wonders. We see WWE, they've been able to do it very well and adapt it to wrestling. I think AEW can do it as well, keep the sports side of things. They've got to move on it fast, though, because like the article was saying, is that WWE is now incorporating things that are actually making it feel a little bit more sportsy, but like NFL, NBA kind of sports with the graphics and a lot of the things that they do. They might be cornering the whole market that there will be they've got blood too. So, and they've got the language. So the worst thing that can happen for AEW, especially with the way the wrestling audience is now, is for WWE to basically give them nowhere to be unique at. If AEW, WWE does blood, so it's not a big deal. WWE has cursing and language and stuff like that. WWE does have tournaments. WWE does have all these things. WWE does have a bit of a sports atmosphere now. So where do you go if you're AEW? How do you differentiate yourself from WWE? Or, probably the best thing, do you just come up with something and figure out what WWE will not do and can't do? And that's how your hook. I said this last week. If WWE is the MCU main movies, then AEW should probably be more like Daredevil on Netflix. That would be my thought. Walsman says, top 10 NWA matches was a good video. How did NWA go bankrupt? Crockett's overspent. The Crockett's, and this has been chronicled by the Crockett's. David Crockett said this. Ric Flair has said this. The guy with the tennis racket. Pretty much everybody that worked there said this. They were flying everybody around on private jets. And they also pushed out of their territory. They basically had, from my territory here, Baltimore, Maryland, is on the Mason-Dixon line legitimately, and also was the Mason-Dixon line between the WWF and Crockett and the NWA. So it was north and south. We're right on the middle of it. So we got the WWF and we got Crockett. We got more Crockett than the WWF when I was younger. But Crockett pretty much had all the Southeast, some of the Midwest, Texas, and up in Detroit and Chicago. They weren't really good out in California and some of the other areas and in the Northeast, which was Vince's territory. They tried to expand, and when they tried to expand, Vince would cut their knees off every time they tried to expand, which led to Starrcade 87 when Vince cut their knees off completely and told the cable companies that they couldn't carry Starrcade 87 on Thanksgiving night because A, he was making Survivor Series 87 on Thanksgiving night, and if they carried Starrcade, then those cable companies would not get WrestleMania 4 the following year. So a lot of the cable companies caved. That cost Crockett a lot of money, and they invested a lot of money in that Starrcade to expand their territory. Things started to fall apart, and even though a year later, because Crockett I think they went out at September, October of '88, so there wasn't much long after that. Great American Bash '88, I was there in attendance. The place was sold out weeks in advance, and the company went out of business 3 weeks later, or 3 months later. That's how much they were overspending and had overextended themselves, even though they were packing arenas well in advance, sellouts well in advance. Things just kind of went bad. Let's see here. Bree says a lot of what AEW needs is a long-term narrative direction. Yeah, like what's the end goal of wrestling? Yeah, I think they can start by just having All In, which it seems like they might be doing now because they've set up Omega and Okada as being the main match at All In. Have All In. If All In is your WrestleMania, if it is your Wrestle Kingdom, if it is your Slammiversary or whatever, then you should have a story that is wrapped around there, and then All Out, which they're perfectly set up for, All Out the next week, and then start the next year of storylines. But they should have that kind of thought out for ahead of time, but we'll see. I feel like Tony used to book long-term well, but all the injuries from a few years ago made him hesitant to do that. That's probably true, too. Like they know how to do it, but they don't do it consistently. True. Craig S. says, since when did the NWA go bankrupt? We're not talking about Billy Corgan's NWA. We're talking about Jim Crockett promotions from the 80s. Gerald says, I do feel that AEW misses a few key points storyline-wise that can take a good story to a great story. Yeah, I mean, some of that goes with their presentation, and some of that goes not to rush things too much. Again, I'm an author, I'm a writer. You guys know this by now. I'm not going to tell them how to book their stuff because booking wrestling is a lot different than writing a novel. But there are fundamental storytelling things that I think AEW could do that they could use somebody, not me. I'm not offering myself for the job, but they could use somebody who is used an expert in narrative structure to be on their booking team. Craig S. says, I got you. Okay, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, Bree says, plus AEW doesn't have that one major story that branches to other ones. They kind of do it to an extent with some feuds, but not consistent. Well, I think it's because sometimes those main storylines kind of fall flat because the Devil storyline from the other year was hot. MJF and Adam Cole, when it started the first couple of months, it was a really good storyline, and they could have done it could have branched out to so many things, and it could have lifted everything up. But Cole got injured, and then the storyline went kind of sideways with the way they presented it, and then I kind of fell off. So now they're trying to do it with the Death Riders, and the Death Riders is not really hitting the way I think they kind of envisioned that it was going to hit, so they're going to have to find another one. Walls says, speaking of packing arenas, 65,000 for Royal Rumble is crazy. That's probably more than Mania this year. I think they probably have more from Mania's 2 nights too, so. But it's huge. But they've been doing this with I think all the big SummerSlam, not Survivor Series, but SummerSlam, Mania, and the Rumble are all stadium shows at this point. Ex-Bloodline storyline branching off to, yeah, exactly. Bree makes it a good point. And Scotty Boy's question, thoughts on Jay White as a face? Don't like it. I think Jay White, again, I said, cast people for what they should be cast for. Jay White, we watched Jay White, his first year in New Japan, have this most brilliant plan that played out the whole year in 2018 of him. His character came in to take down Chaos and the Elite's version of Bullet Club. And by the end of the year, he had taken down the catalyst for taking down the Elite version of Bullet Club. And then He told Okada the first day he signed with Chaos that he was going to stab Okada in the back. The whole year, Rocky Romero is losing his crap because Jay is trying to get Sho and Yoda to be heels, and he's messing with Yoshihashi, and he's just playing until finally we get the heel turn. Jay then takes over Bullet Club, and by the end of the year, he's basically wrecked the two biggest factions in New Japan and taken one of them over as his own. And Chaos has not been the same since that, by the way. Chaos has not been the same since Jay White turned on Okada all those years ago. So that's what Jay White does best. He is the Loki, to borrow, again, another outside term for outside of wrestling. He is the Loki of pro wrestling. That is when he is at his best, when he's scheming and conniving and doing these grand long-term strategies and plans to kind of abuse the people following him. And, you know, remember, he kicked he kicked out an original member of Bullet Club. That's pretty huge. He kicked out a lot of people. He did a lot of great stuff in that role, and I think that's the best role for him. So we are up on time here, and thank you guys for checking out the live stream this week. Again, we're going to try to do this every single Sunday, so if you are not subscribed and have not hit the notification bell so you know when these live streams go up, feel free to do it. I am going to do one last thing I did say I was going to do. I'm going to watch the Squid Game trailer, and that'll be, I'm just going to give my brief reaction to it, and then that'll be it for tonight. Let's see what's happening next. What the? Oh, wait. This is not. Is this a real trailer?
The games took everything from us. Our dignity, our hope, even our humanity.
Wait, this is...
But they didn't take our will to fight on.
This is a real trailer. Never mind. Screen culture? I don't think this is a real trailer. This is what I hate about sometimes is that, yeah, this is not a real trailer. This is all footage from the prior thing. Okay, never mind. So, that'll be it then for the Rantin Review this week. Again, thank you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. Be sure to share this on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you talk about gaming, wrestling, movies, all kinds of stuff. And until next time, I will see you guys here for more of this on the Rantin Review